the last time I saw this man was in Canton, Ohio. I saw him chit-chatting on the night of the jacket dinner with Mike Tomlin. And it was just so cool. It's one of those moments where, you know, you want to just take out your phone and snap a photograph of it because you know so many fans of this man and obviously Tomlin and the Steelers would just love to see this sort of thing. And I was thrilled to be a fly on the wall and also thrilled to have provided the narration for the third season of NFL Icons, which is airing on MGM+. This Saturday night, an all-new episode with the legendary Hall of Fame coach from the Pittsburgh Steelers, now from CBS Sports, Bill Cowher, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you, Bill.
Good to see you, Rich. And I remember that Friday night we were together, and you're right. Coach Tomlin came in for Rondé Barbers, who was going in, and actually put the jacket on him that evening, and we kind of got together later on that evening, and it was a really good talk. Actually, one of probably the longest talks him and I have had. Just given the circumstance we've always end up meeting ourselves with, so it was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to be a fly on the wall. I really wanted to be. I'll be honest with you, just to know what you guys were talking about, because it's like, in straight up, Coach Noel is gone, and in the same bust room that you're in. You're kind of like astronauts, the two of you, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not many of you walking around the planet, Bill. So, what do you talk about with Mike, if you don't mind sharing?
It was interesting. No, it's interesting, Rich. I said, when we got a chance to sit down and talk, and where he's at this year, and kind of transitioning from Ben to Kenny, and and I said, I did some transitioning myself, probably a little bit more so than you did, but I said, kind of just talked about, in coaching, the difference from your first year to now for him his 17th year. And I said, I was a different coach later in my career than I was earlier in my career. You're probably a little bit more tolerant when you're younger. You're still trying to establish yourself. As you do establish yourself, you become a little less tolerable to some things, and some things become a little bit more important to you. So, we kind of just talked about the state of the game, where it's at, some of the young coaches coming up, what advice you would give to them. So it was good. It really, really was. It was one of those situations we had a chance to sit back, and I got great respect for Mike and the job he's done down through the years, and just talking about what he walked into after I left. And it's just interesting because I think Chuck didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to Mike. Yeah. This is probably the first time that him and I had a chance to talk after he's been there for all these years. So
no kidding.
It was more reflection than anything else.
So it was as special as I thought it was when I was standing in that room.
It really was. It was. We don't talk very often, and when I got the job in Pittsburgh, I try to kind of reach out to Chuck a couple of times, but he would reach out very nicely, but he didn't want to talk football. So I'm like, okay. And so, and I thought, I know the dynamics in the building, but the dynamics will be a little bit different because it's you. You're the one that has to sit there, and, you're the one that's going to control how it unfolds. And I know he's working now well with Omar, and, he's gone from Kevin to Omar. And so it's a very special place with its own unique mystique about it. And I think part of the mystique is the fact that there's a respect that you have for where you're at, and more importantly, where the organization and the franchise has been.
Especially since we live in the world of hot seat conversations. We have it here on the show quite a bit. What is it about the Rooneys where are they chill? I mean, like, honestly, I'm sure they're not. No, I know.
But they're chill when you win, but not when you have lost.
Okay,
you still have those uncomfortable conversations. I had many of those.
Like
with
what?
Mr. Rooney.
Like what? Like what?
Well, it's like one of those things. Like, so, what kind of changes are you planning on making? Well, what kind of changes do you think you want to see? So can we? So it's like, I know I want the results to change. So does that mean there's another part of layer to that? So
right.
But it just is. It's such a great place. I think the one thing about the Rooneys that is they understood it was about the game. It was always about the game, and yes, winning was a byproduct for the organization, but a lot of times we talked about the game. We talked about family. he was a Pittsburgher through and through. And it's just something about that dynamic and the connection with the people. And, we reflect them, and we have to make sure we do a good job of reflecting what this city is all about, the core values that we stand for. Not to be self-centered, not to be selfish, not to be about me. It's about us. And so those are the things that you understood. And I understood because I grew up there. And so, there was just very much aligned. It's just like, like I said, it was just growing up there and going back there. And the icons that we're going to see Saturday night. I saw that. I'd never seen that much footage of my first press conference. Like, I've seen me walk in there, but that's the first time I've seen a lot of footage for the first time. And all the things I'm saying, I'm like, wow, young, brash kid that walked in there. Okay, we'll see. But it was pretty daunting walking in there to that franchise and the history, the tradition. But once you get in there, you almost feel like now it's more of an obligation to keep it going.
Bill Cowher right here on the Rich Eisen Show, referring to NFL Icons, a terrific documentary series NFL Films produced. MGM Plus sprinkles its dust on it as well, and it's just awesome. And the 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific episode this Saturday featuring our guest right now, Bill Cowher. And again, you talk about your roots and where you grew up and becoming the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. But was there a time where you thought you would be the next Cleveland Browns head coach in your life, Bill? Did you think so?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was the next one, but the year before I went to Pittsburgh, I did have an interview with the Cleveland Browns at the last minute, the year that Bill Belichick got it. And it's interesting, and it's well documented in there. Bill and I go back to 1989. Marty Schottenheimer got fired after the 88 season. I went down to the Senior Bowl. Bill Belichick interviewed me. I got a call from Bill Parcells. Do you want to be the defensive back coach for the New York Giants? And at the same time, Marty went to Kansas City. So I said, well, you know what? Marty wants me to come with him there. So I ended up going with Marty. And long story short, I ended up becoming a coordinator and coaching linebackers. Bill Belichick, they hired Al Groh. He coached the secondary. And then him and I got together for an afternoon in New York Giants Stadium in 1989, prior to my first year as a coordinator. And I talked to him about defensive back play. He talked about linebacker play. 89 and 90 we have common opponents. We shared our thoughts about common opponents, got to know each other very well. And then 91 came, they won the Super Bowl and in 90. And so, he gets interviewed, and all of a sudden, the last minute, they call me in to get an interview. And I'm like, wow, I was pretty young at the time, 33. And so it was like, wow, okay. So we came down to him and he got the job as he should have. But that interview that I had, because I knew Mr. Modell very well. I knew Kevin Byrne very well. I mean, I played in Cleveland. I coached in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. My first two kids were born in Cleveland. So Cleveland was like my first home. I mean, listen, I remember running out there, and I was part of the 1980 Cardiac Kids. It was my rookie year. Then I got a chance to come back. I coached special teams, and I coached the dog pound with Hanford Dixon and Frank Middlefield. So I knew what that place was all about. And I ended up going back to my hometown in Pittsburgh. And so Bill and I went from friends to adversaries very quickly. So we're playing against each other. And And then, ironically enough, then he went to New England. And it's so funny because it was 2004. We lost to those guys in the championship game. We go back in 2005. We're getting ready for the Super Bowl. And Bill calls me up. And he had just gotten beaten by, I think, Denver the week before we beat Denver. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, listen, is there anything you need, like, on the Super Bowl? And I'm like, yeah, let me just pick your brain a little bit about the preparation, what you did. And really from that time moving forward, we kind of reconnected again. It was like, it's almost like 10 years of, in between there from 92 to 2005, 13 years, we didn't really talk much. We competed against each other. And, then I stepped down, and really from the time I stepped down, we become very good friends. We talk frequently, and so much respect for Bill, his history of the game, his respect for the game. He's a football coach through and through.
And if he respects you, I mean, that is the greatest, right? I mean, and obviously, you I'm sure serve as that for so many others as well, Bill Cowher. But I mean, for him to basically be, all right, adversaries. I mean, the Patriots and the Steelers, in the Brady era, you with Big Ben, I mean, you with Bettis, them doing their thing, and obviously everything that happened with you in the 90s taking on the Cowboys, and for you to continue to build and become as terrific as a program you had. And then there's Brady and Belichick there, and then you make it to the Super Bowl, and he calls you after all of that. I mean, that is actually very typical of him, is it not, Bill? I mean,
it was really special, Rich. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I think the thing that both of us, we had a great passion for the game. We're both defensive coaches. We all always, I had, at the time when he had LT, I had Derek Thomas, and I used to just throw LTs. Like, I throw tape of LT on there. Derek, you're almost there. What do you mean I'm almost there? I go, yeah, you're not as good as this guy. So, he's throwing on tape of Derek Thomas. So I said, yeah, why don't we'll just kind of amp the other two guys up and take it from their level. So it was, but it was built on respect. And even like when I stepped down, I used to still talk to him about blitzes and zone coverages and zone blitzes and dogs. And, I'd give him a couple times. I'd give him an off season, like last 4 or 5 years. I give him a couple blitzes. He'd be calling me up. Hey, Bill, what happens on this motion? I go, well, let me think about this. I got let me put this. So we talk football, still talk football. And he loves it. I love it. It's still a great passion of mine. I love game planning. I love the creativity that the football really is all about on both sides of the ball. You're talking about, we always talk about creating great, good-looking plays on offense, but defensively it's the same thing. It's the ultimate chess match that's out there, and good defensive coordinators get a little bit creative in what they're doing week in and week out. Whether you're moving a certain player to get a great matchup or you're showing a certain thing. So that's what Bill is all about, and I love talking with football with him.
Well, then, on that subject matter, before we move on in the final minutes we have here with you, Bill, like what are you willing to share about what you think's going on in his head, his world, his thought process about what's going on right now?
He's in a period of transition. I mean, it's one of those things right now, and it doesn't just happen one year. It might be in another year, but listen, Bill's determined to catch Don Shula. I know that for a fact. And he would love to do it right there in New England. I don't know that. To have not talked with him about that. Right. I think he would love that to be the case. He's also realistic to know what the NFL is all about. So, I think he tried a little bit of an experiment last year. It didn't work. Brings in Bill O'Brien this year. They lost a couple of their tough offensive players or defensive players, a couple of weeks ago. So they're transitioning here. But, the game they put on the other day against the Buffalo Bills is still going to be the same thing. He knows the right buttons to push. He's going to get the most of what he has right now. And I just think talent-wise, they're not as good as they've been in the past. And he's having to acclimate to that. And he's trying to be resourceful and be creative with what he's got. But he's the ultimate competitor. And that's the one thing about him. He's going to give you everything he's got. He's going to turn over every stone with what he has. That's just who he is as a coach.
You put your Bill Cowher marker on one team right now entering Week 8. Which one is it? What you got? The one team.
One team. I got to tell you, the Baltimore Ravens, I look at them and what they're doing. They lead the league in sacks at 39, 12 different players. I think Todd Monken has, Lamar, there's a couple games they've lost that they just, some drop passes or whatever. What he did last week against the Detroit Lions was very, very impressive. He's got the best group of skill players he's ever had. Zay Flowers, Odell, Bateman. I mean, this is as good a receiving core as Lamar has ever had. It got Mark Andrews, one of the top tight ends in the National Football League. So this is a good football team. And I'm just saying the AFC North is going to be a challenge. I like the Detroit Lions in spite of what happened to them last week. I think I still like Dan Campbell, Jared Goff. So I look at that, but the Philadelphia Eagles still continue to be a team that they're solid, man. Jalen Hurts he wills them. Is there any more of an intense player than Jalen Hurts in the National Football League? I mean, his passion, his messaging, the way that he approaches his craft is very, very impressive. And those offensive and defensive lines of the Philadelphia Eagles are very, very solid, good skilled people. They're going to be a tough out.
Well, yeah, and I put my chip on the Chiefs still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yep, I got you. I got you.
It just seems they're doing it a different way. It's just because Mahomes hasn't found 15 different receivers and Tyreek Hill's doing his thing somewhere else, and I can't wait to call that game in Frankfurt in 2 weeks with the Dolphins and the Chiefs. But it's defensively, right? It's Spagnuolo, what he's dialing up. Like that is
Spag is.
It's 6-1 there because of that. I think for the first 6 weeks of the season.
No question about it. I mean, and Chris Jones has come back and playing like a man who wants a contract, and so he's Spags is one of the most underrated defensive coordinators in the National Football League. There's no question about it. You're right. You never can count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You never can.
Before I let you go here, this documentary, it's so cool. It's so great, and I just want to know, of all the things, the Polaroid incident where you took the Polaroid and you jammed it into, what was it, McCarter's pocket?
Gord McCarter.
Well, what happened? Tell me the full story here. Give me the full story, Bill. Come on.
The full story. Number one. Okay, so they go to kick a field goal. They miss the field goal. A penalty flag comes out, and as we're starting to walk off, everyone's wondering what happened. I said, we didn't rough the kicker. They said there's 12 guys on the field. And as I go, whoa, like, wait a minute. And so we had a couple guys starting to mill to the, I said, stop, just stop. And I start counting. And I said, there's 11 guys. There's 11 guys right here. And then I pulled over, and I think Kevin Green came over. I said, all right, Kevin, I said, did somebody run off the field that I didn't see? I said, because I'm not going to sit there. And they go, no problem. I said, Coach, we only had, everybody was there. And in the meantime, while that's going on, and I'm looking, and they're getting ready to, okay, they're going to give him another chance or moving the ball. I get the Polaroid, and so he hands a Polaroid, and I kind of go, oh my gosh, there's 11 guys here. So I just came over. I said, I think I might call a timeout. Like, hey, I go, Gordon. I said, I know you can't look down, but we have 11 guys. He goes, Bill, it's a penalty. The Lions judge called. They go, yeah, he was standing right in front of the Minnesota bench. I go, but the Polaroid, you're wrong. There's 11 guys. I got a vision right here. And I know you can't look down, but just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Because I can't. Penalty was enforced. They made the field goal. And I just took it. And I was just so mad. I said, okay, here, just take it. You can't look at it here. Put it in your pocket. When you get through the tunnel, you can go inside. You can look at it then. But here's a true story now, Rich. I said, this is true. So afterwards, we're in there, and my daughter came in after the game. She goes, Daddy, that official was so bad, and I'm so glad that you did that. And I said, Lauren, no, your father was wrong. Huh? You don't show up an official on national TV like that. Two wrongs don't make a right. So it was a great teaching moment for me.
Look at you.
It was a great teaching moment for me with my daughter. But I know it was it did feel good to put that in his pocket.
Did you get fined? Did the league fine you for that?
Yeah, like $15,000, and that was a lot of money back then. Yeah, you can't push. And actually, they took the pockets off the officials for like a couple years after that. So
is that right? You basically removed the pockets.
You know what? Sometimes it's nice to be part of a rule change. So I was like,
you're like Mel Blunt, a different version of Mel Blunt.
Yes.
Did Polaroid ever reach out to you for a gig or anything like that?
No, I don't know.
That's too bad.
I wanted to get the picture back. I wanted to see if Gordon still had the picture, so I wanted to get the picture back, my Polaroid back. Because I did have the proof. I don't think we had that. That was the only copy we had.
Oh, Bill, that's so great. This is a great documentary. Congrats on being a subject for it. It's pretty neat stuff. So,
thank you for narrating. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Man, Greg Cosell has been on this program many times from NFL Films, and he told me this. I asked him to tell me a story about Facenda. And he said that he always remembered when Facenda would get copy from NFL Films, he would look at it, and when it was a really good line, he would say, "Now that's a horse I can ride," like that. And so when I get copy from NFL Films, I'm riding that horse, man. They're awesome. Awesome. And so is MGM Plus, and obviously your story is perfect for it. So thanks for the time, Bill. You got it.
Thanks, Rich.
Great chatting with you. Let's do this again soon. That's Bill Cowher. Everybody check out NFL Icons. Bill Cowher, premiering this Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on MGM Plus. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.